Hi guys, it's been a minute. I have not posted on YouTube in about 4 years and I took my breaks for my reasons, but I wanted to go ahead and come back. This year for 2024, I'm really trying to expand out of my comfort zone a little, and with that comes coming back to YouTube. This is a very special month for me. December 26th marks the 6-year anniversary of whenever I started my weight loss / fitness journey, and those last 6 years they've had a lot happen. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of give like an overarching story, some background about me, and help you guys get to know me a little bit. So hopefully you'll want to stick around. So if you're new around here, my name is Kennedy. I'm currently 25 years old and I started my weight loss journey when I was 19 years old. I documented the entire process on Instagram and I still keep up with it to this day because fitness has become something that I really love and am passionate about. So back in 2017, I was a full-time college student and I was living at home, so I was commuting to my college, and I was having a really hard time just in general. My senior year of high school had been so difficult for me, and once I graduated high school and moved on to college, I just felt so stuck. I had a history of being overweight and struggling with my weight literally my entire life. My parents always pushed for me to be more active, but they were never aggressive about it. They let me do my thing, and they were kind of like, this is something that she's gonna have to learn on her own. Plus, she's so young. We don't need to instill these thoughts in her head until she's an adult and can make these decisions for herself. In high school, it fluctuated a lot. I got into soccer. I had friends that were a lot more active, but near my senior year is whenever I started to just get super depressed. I felt so stuck in my life and I just didn't understand why. And I kind of adapted that mentality of, why do bad things always happen to me? Why am I always miserable? Why can't everybody else be miserable too? Very much a misery brings company type of girly. I graduated high school, moved on to college, and I was like, I do not want to live like this for the rest of my life. I do not want to be miserable, not just with my body, but just like mentally. December of 2017, my family took a trip to New York City, and when we were there, I remember right before we left, I was sobbing my eyes out trying to pack because I was like, I hate the way everything looks on me. I hate the way I feel about everything going on in my life. And I just had reached like such a low point. But we ended up going on the trip. I literally told my family, I was like, you're gonna have to go without me because there's no way I can pack for this. I was quite dramatic, but it's fine. I ended up going. While I was on that trip, I just realized that there were a lot of dreams in my life that I just wasn't doing anything to make happen. And I remember sitting at a brunch spot near the freaking financial district being like, what can I do to start being happy with the choices that I'm making in my life? I needed to end the cycle of feeling miserable. Quite frankly, I still have my days, don't worry, where I rot in bed. It was just an everyday type of thing, and I was like, I cannot be 19 years old and living my life like this. I just was unhappy. So I wrote a list of everything I didn't like, and I wrote a list right next to it of what I could do to change those things. At the time, I was starting to follow some Instagram accounts that inspired me a lot, and some of them had gone through a lot more significant weight loss than I had, and that was still kind of inspiring to me, even though it wasn't something that I necessarily needed to achieve. I just loved to hear their stories and hear about what made it click for them, because that's the one thing that I felt like I was always missing is, why won't this just click? Why do I always tell myself that I'm going to lose weight starting on Monday, and why can I never have the follow through? So this time I was like, I'm not pushing it off. I'm not going to say I'm going to start after the new year. I said, I'm going to start right now when I feel like I have this drive to do it. On December 26, 2017, I first set foot in the gym to work out. And I was so scared. It was so terrifying, so uncomfortable. I hid in the cardio section and I was like, you know what? I'm not a runner. I'm not a girl that can stand on the elliptical forever. I started looking into weightlifting, and I was fortunate enough that my mom was a personal trainer and she had taught group exercise basically my whole life. And she gave me so many great resources for learning how to do proper form and building a workout, because this was something that had always fascinated me. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it would be a good outlet for me, and it certainly was. I had to ease myself in for sure. Because I eased myself into it, I feel like I had a lot more longevity and sustainability in what I was able to accomplish, because I wasn't trying to overwhelm myself with a bunch of different things at once. About a week into me going to the gym pretty consistently, I was like, you know what? It's the new year. I feel like I could actually do it this time. I feel like I can make this stick. I want to prove myself wrong. Around January 1st, it was probably more around like the 4th or so, I decided it was time to start dialing in on what I was eating. Now, I know eating can be a terrifying subject, but with weight loss, your diet is the most important thing. And I don't mean diet in terms of you can't have carbs or you can't have fat or you have to do this, this, and this. I just mean your overall nutrition. I knew food was going to be a challenge for me, and I was really scared to take that part on, but I was fortunate enough to have a great accountability system and to just really educate myself on what was best so I didn't fall for the fads and I didn't fall for any kind of disordered eating and over restriction, you know? So I took a moderation approach, and I needed that because I had a really long, complicated history with food. Back when I was a senior in high school, I worked at a pizza place, and I would wake up, I'd go to school, I'd come home, I'd nap till I went to work, and then I would not only go to work and eat an entire pizza by myself, but I would go to a fast food restaurant and pick up a bunch of food there too, and I would just eat and eat and eat, and then I would just sleep. And I always felt so sick from how much I was eating, and I was hiding it from people, and that's whenever I was like, there's definitely a problem here. I knew that this was going to be something that I was going to have to work through. So therefore, I took a moderation approach. I did track my macros for the first year of my weight loss. I kept a lot of balance. I never wanted it to be something that I couldn't live like for the rest of my life. I really wanted to work on fixing these habits and finding ones that actually benefited me and fulfilled me and made me feel restored and excited about life. So yes, I took a moderation approach. Probably about a year in, I was like, I'm over tracking macros. I had already reached my goal weight at that point, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I wanted to learn how to do intuitive eating, which is what I've stuck with for the past 5 years. I have the flexibility now to know my body and know whenever it's a craving, and I can indulge in it, and I don't have to go overboard. And I know that that's like a tricky thing to talk about, but I'm just talking about my experience, and I'm not saying that just because it worked for me means it'll work for you. Just telling my story. So now that the background's out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and go through and talk about basically what each year brought to get me to the point where I am now. 2017, obviously the tail end of that, and then into 2018 was my big year. That was my transformative year. That was the year that I was like excited and passionate and just stoked to be creating this new lifestyle for myself. With that year, I lost 50 pounds, and in that time, I had moved across country. I had surgery on my uterus to remove tumors. I made new friends, I lost friends, I started my Instagram, and I hit 10,000 followers in the first year. I was using that as an accountability journal, which, side note, that really helped me because it made me feel like I had other people cheering me on. It wasn't as self-driven. I definitely obviously did have to be the one to wake up and go every day and tell myself you can do this, but it helped a lot to know that I had a community of people that were supporting me. It was such a transformative year for me, and even now, sometimes whenever I have like a hard time, I think back to how I felt that first year, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm just like, it's go time. Like, I'm doing it for that version of myself who was just so excited and so passionate, and I just admire the strength of my 19-year-old self because I literally have no idea how I did that. But I mean, I do have an idea, but you know what I mean. So then 2019 brought about its own set of challenges. I did have a little bit of a time where I was like, what am I going to do now? I lost the weight. How the heck am I going to maintain it? And that's whenever I had to kind of shift into a different mindset of educating myself on how to maintain weight loss in a healthy way and not slip back into old habits. 2019 was very similar to 2018 in terms of me being just so excited about this journey, and my Instagram was growing. I had released my first gym guide. Ugh, I was so excited to do that, and then now I look back on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl. I ended up having to rework the entire guide because I wanted it to be better because I was still a newbie and I didn't have experience training other people. I literally only took what I knew and put it into a program. And so I have worked really hard to rework those, and I'm in the process of reworking my other ones to make them better. So with that has come a lot of growth. And then 2020 happened. I was posting at-home workouts every single day, and it reached a point where I was just like, I don't enjoy this. I'm only posting these videos for other people. I'm not doing it for me anymore. And I just wasn't happy. And I started to get a lot of criticism from people who were saying that I was being fat phobic, or that I was a bad influence because I was telling people how to lose weight. And that stuff was really getting to me because I never wanted people to think that I hated myself just because I was fat before and that's why I lost weight, because it didn't come from a place of self-hate. I loved myself and I wanted this thing for myself, so I did it, and I would never push that on anybody else. But I can see how everybody has their own things that can be triggering or difficult for them to process, and I did not know at the ripe age of 21 how to handle that. That was probably one of the most anxious years of my entire life, besides just the pandemic and everything else that was going on that year. It just became so difficult for me to show up every day and put a smile on my face and motivate other people to do stuff that I didn't even want to do. Probably around May, whenever I stopped sharing as much on social media. And that kind of carried on into 2021. I did start like roller skating and finding other ways to stay active, but I wasn't in the gym very much. Near the end of 2020 though, I started teaching fitness classes, and I had so much fun doing that. I loved doing it out of the little studio that I worked in. It was so much fun, and I was able to connect with people, and I was able to make friends, and it was another point in my life where I was like, you know what, I really do love fitness. Like, I know that I have kind of resented it for the past few months, but I really feel my best whenever I'm teaching others and taking care of myself. So in 2021, I just kind of went through the motions. I had another job. I wasn't really prioritizing my Instagram or anything at all, but I missed it, and I missed it a lot. And during that year, I decided to kind of come back. I'd ease myself into it, but I was still struggling a lot with those people-pleasing tendencies. And so it was like one comment and I would just be like, I'm shutting down. Like, I can't be vulnerable with people anymore. From that point, I started my app, which I still do to this day, and I have 2 new programs releasing January 1st. Side note. 2022, however, was a very difficult year for me, and I'm not saying that lightly. I lost my grandmother in July of 2022, and I'm trying not to cry, but that was a really hard thing for me to work through, and I spent a lot of time with my family and trying to work through that. And then we lost our family dog in November. Those 2 things really brought me closer to my family and kind of made me a little bit more fragile that year. I also just felt stuck again. I had gotten into a job that was making me miserable, and I was so anxious, and I was crying every day. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. I was just so overwhelmed and overcome with stress and anxiety that I hit another low point. And you know, they do this. Life is a roller coaster, and I knew that if there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and this 2022 was definitely a down year for me. I'm grateful to have had my amazing family to support me and my amazing boyfriend to be there with me for every step of the way and encourage me to get back in the gym and take care of myself, because he knew the difference that made in my life. So at the end of 2022, I quit that job, and I was like, you know what? I'm going back to doing my Instagram, my app. I'm going to make this a priority for myself again, because that is where I feel passionate and that is where I feel alive. So I went back, and this year I made that shift. It was probably around February-ish, which was right around the 5-year anniversary of me starting my Instagram, which is crazy that it's been that long. But I came back, and I really wanted to come back with the mindset of sometimes life is hard, and I'm never going to pretend like it's picture perfect and that every day I wake up and I have a protein shake and I feel amazing just because I move my body and because I lost weight. Like, losing weight did not solve all my problems, but it was a goal for me, and I found a new outlet for myself. This year, I really wanted to focus on body recomposition, because I did gain a little bit of weight last year just with all the stress and obviously holiday eating I'm looking forward to that weight gain this year. I'd gotten to a point where I wasn't happy. I didn't feel excited, and I needed to get back in the gym. I needed to take care of myself again. So that's exactly what I did. And this year I've lost probably like 10 pounds. I don't know the actual figures because I wasn't tracking it that closely. This year I feel like I have really figured out what is gonna work for me. And it's taken a lot of trial and error. Obviously, it's been nearly 6 years of doing this. And that's what I think is so interesting about fitness journeys in general, is they're not always going to be the same. Things are constantly changing. And I just really wanted to lean into that and focus on what I was excited about. So this year I started training more towards till failure, which is hard, but I feel like it has made such a difference. And you can see the tangible progress of, I can lift heavier now. I think that's so cool. Like when I started this year, I was shoulder pressing like 10, 12, 15 pounds maybe. This year, my warm-up weight, 30 pounds. Yeah, I think that's so cool. I couldn't do a pull-up. Now I can do pull-ups. I couldn't do more than like 2 push-ups. I can do push-ups. As many, like I can do so many now. And I just get so excited being able to mark my progress outside of just what my body looks like. And obviously, I put on the muscle because I think it looks good. But I also feel like I don't have such an emphasis on the aesthetics look, and I have more of an emphasis on the performance and how I feel. And that has just been such a liberating feeling. And so now I've been coming back, and 2024 is going to be the year of YouTube, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about stuff and hang out with y'all and do my makeup and go work out, and we're just gonna have fun. If you want to stick around, you know what to do. Subscribe, hang out with me. I think we'll have some fun. And yeah, that's just basically a recap of the last 6 years of my life, which is crazy. I cannot believe it's been 6 years. It literally feels like it's been a year. And yeah, this year, I'm just grateful for this year, and I'm excited to see what's in store for 2024. This is kind of long and pointless, but sometimes I just start talking and I can't stop. So love you. Have the best day.